Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 6 of Way Overthinking It. I am Sean.
I'm Paul.
And we're back from a mini
We
hiatus.
needed time to way overthink it.
We
needed
did,
time to
right?
saturate in all that's going on in the world and think about
goodness.
it.
Remember how I've always, my adage has been since we've started this, my mantra, I guess is probably a better word, is we want to stay positive. We want to keep it positive. We want to keep it happy.
Oh, yeah.
That's not going to happen tonight. That's not it. I just don't have it. No, I'm joking.
You've given up.
I kid. No, it's just absolute. I love. If you didn't check out our last episode 5, I recommend you do that because
I think it's our best one yet.
It did. The first really 20 minutes were like fire. I was
great.
like, holy smokes. We kind of got off into the theological weeds and we found our way back and still somehow managed to.
But it all worked.
It did. We landed that plane.
It was so fire that we decided to take the next 4 weeks off.
Right, that's what it was. It was so good. So much to digest there that we thought for our listeners it would probably be the best thing to do. But all of a sudden, the world in the last 3 weeks has decided to go absolutely berserk. If you're even paying attention at all.
Yeah, there's so much going on.
Yes. It is. So anyway, but I mean, obviously I want to start with the most important things here because here in Washington State, it is a blistering 74 degrees.
Wow, you've entered the heat, huh?
We have. I mean, the boat is out in the water, so we've gone on a couple little boat rides, and it kind of starts to feel like summer is starting to flirt with coming out here in Washington State. That's good. But as always, Paul, how is it in the land of freedom?
It's getting freer by the day. I'm very happy with how things are going in Texas lately. We're down to, when I go to the grocery store, it's about 10% of people wearing masks. Everything feels fully open now. There's no one bothering anybody anymore. It's it really almost feels like it never happened, other than the hangover of it all.
Right.
But that's going great. It's a blistering. I think today we got to 97, and it's been a heat wave. So the one downside is our power. ERCOT, which runs the power grid of Texas, because we're our own power grid.
Sure.
We're not on federal like most other states, but we decided to, for some reason, only half the generators were working this week when the heat hit. And so we were asked to keep our temperatures lower. And like a good American, I said, no. I said, that's on you guys. And you guys can have the commercial businesses. They can, keep their ACs
warm it up a little bit. Yeah.
I'm not going lower. I already.
Why is that? Why is, have they given any reason as to why?
I guess they just like to just piss everybody off continually. It's ridiculous. I don't understand it. I've been in Texas now. It's 7 years last week, and never had any energy issues whatsoever. And this year it's been twice. So
interesting.
But this is nothing compared to the winter storm. I mean, I think they've already fixed the issue, but it was just kind of funny because they passed all these new laws supposedly to tighten things up, and already we're having new issues.
So great. I was talking to my uncle who lives in California, and obviously you and I both lived in California for a couple of years, and so we didn't get to experience it when we were there, but
30 years for me. So
well, I lived there when I was a kid, but then I came back when we went to Bethel, but it was but they're experiencing the kind of the rolling blackouts of which is a crazy place. If you're going to be in a rolling blackout, that is, where your government is telling you, hey, we're turning your power off. There's nothing you can do about it. My uncle was actually telling me about the rolling blackout. He actually got a generator. Generators aren't super common down there, so he found somebody at his church who actually had a generator. So he had one, and it just annoyed the tar out of his neighbors because they're so loud. But he was talking to me about, he was actually up here visiting. Which sidetrack? Okay, this is really exciting. This is, I don't know. We won't. I'm not saying anything we'll get banned for. My uncle passed away recently. My uncle was actually I won't say exactly what he did, but he was he was high up in Starbucks.
Oh wow!
So very beloved, and my brother and I, we loved our uncle. He was a great guy, and passed away a month ago. And
sorry to hear that, man. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we were actually going to do, I think, something kind of in the family's backyard. We're just going to kind of get together and do something, and then that got taken over by Starbucks corporate.
Really?
who wanted to do something.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah. So my brother and I were talking. I was in Vegas a couple weeks ago, and my brother calls me and he goes, "Yeah, Starbucks is going to take over the whole thing, and they're going to cater it, and it's going to be it's going to be."
He must have been really high up then.
He was very high up, and so it turned into quite an ordeal, and so sadly, my brother calls me and he says, "Hey, I just got the event invite to go to this to my uncle's memorial, my uncle's memorial."
Sure.
And it was a Starbucks required it to be a vaccine only.
No way. For the memorial of...
So my brother and I are looking at each other like, so, and he's like, so, what are we gonna do? And somebody actually said, it was really funny because somebody actually said, well, if you get vaccinated, no, actually it was my brother. My brother's like, well, so the truth is though, if you get vaccinated today, you still wouldn't be able to make it in time to get your second dose and get the full efficacy. And somebody told him, well, but I mean, maybe if you get your first dose, that'll just be enough. All right. Jeez. And I'm thinking, okay, so you're throwing your whole thing out the window just because, it was just, it was bizarre.
Dude,
but
that's crazy.
But yeah, so that was kind of one of our adventurous little vaccine things, which, by the way, go get it if you want. Wow. I'm not trying to stop you, so you two don't, block us or ban us. We don't endorse anything Brett Weinstein
We endorse
says.
Personal freedom.
Yes. Brett Weinstein is an individual thinking person.
That's a crazy...
Now you're back, yeah.
Okay, we switched sides.
We did.
That's all right.
It's okay. It's a flip.
We love Melanap. We love you.
Yes, thank you.
So good at this.
That's what it was. We said Brett Weinstein. The minute we said Brett Weinstein, all of a sudden Melon's in on it too. So anyway, so I found that incredibly interesting, and so obviously I didn't get to attend. But
man, that's
wild.
Wild.
So that gives you a little bit of an insight of what things are like here in Washington State. It is still very much, anywhere you go, it's still happening. We're still in the mask mode, but the signs have changed now that the vaccinated people are not required to wear masks, and those are the signs that are put there. So it's kind of the honor system now. So
are they allowed to ask you and hound you about it?
No, I don't think they would. I think that's only for Mariners games. Which Mariners game, I think they were just looking for that to justify why their attendance is still only, garbage, even though it's like, what it is? It's the vaccine thing. Like I was actually looking for tickets tonight, and the you won't be able to see it on the screen, but I was scrolling through and I was looking at that last minute ticket app, where you can get tickets for like $19, $20, you can get a $60 seat for $20. And as I was scrolling through it, I'm looking for the seats, and there's like the number, the row, and then there's a little syringe.
No way.
Right next to the number, the row, and and a syringe. I'm like, is that where you do heroin? Like what? What does that mean? You can do heroin in that section?
It's the hookup. Yeah.
There's a guy, there's a guy named Sydney sitting over there in this, seat number 4. I was like, wow. So I'm sitting in row 135, seat A, and there's a syringe. No, I'm sure we know what that's for. So because then there's some
so funny
seats out in left field where no syringes are next to the thing. So that must be the no heroin section.
Yeah.
So, like I told you, I'm a little. I was actually concerned all day as I thought we were going to do it tonight. I was like, oh man, I just need to let my goodness and happiness of Jesus, which I am. I am so happy, and I really am full of a lot of joy and a lot of hope. But oh my goodness, some of these things you have to.
Oh yeah.
You just have to keep telling yourself, Lord. Paul says, don't see anyone by the flesh. And I'm like, but there's so much flesh.
There's a lot of flesh.
So, but help me see by the Spirit and help me remember that, they probably look at me the exact same way and just be like, yeah, Sean. So, but self-deprecation is not my trip to humility.
It's wild. I got to tell you the frustrations since Texas has become so open all of a sudden in the last 2 months. It's been a process, but really in the last 2 weeks, it's felt like I think we're here. I think we're pretty much normal again.
Sure.
And it's amazing how like the frustration has subsided. I feel like I'm enjoying my summer.
Yeah.
Whereas last year it was like everything was on edge, and then even leading up to this year, there's little things here and there, and it was just like, but that's all gone now, and it's wonderful. I'm like, wow.
Well, we're probably just right behind you then.
Yeah.
In a couple months, we'll be feeling that way. I guess we'll
Apparently,
see.
2 days ago was the restrictions ending for California.
Yeah.
The arbitrary June 15th date set by Gavin Newsom hit. Yes, 2 days ago.
And Jay Inslee not to be outdone in the arbitrary games, because it's like I think we talked a little bit about it last time. It was actually before we dropped the mask mandate.
Oh yeah.
It was 2 days before. He was just ambiguously being like, well, we might have to roll back. And like even progressives in the state were like, okay, why? Like, you can pull up the data. It's right there in Google. We're like, okay, nothing's changed, but we're going to go backwards. And then that was it.
Wow.
He didn't say why. He didn't even say what the metric was. And then 2 days later, he's like, you know what? We're going to pause that. So we went from we're going backwards to we're going on pause, so you guys better do better.
Gosh.
And we didn't do anything. And all of a sudden, then 2 days after that, hey, no masks. We're like, yeah, sure. So you just feel super confident that that you are being led by the science here.
Wow.
And by science, I mean one of those crystal kits that you get at the toy store.
Do you feel that there's been, because I could say in Texas, I think there's been a shift, whereas last year we put up with a lot because the not knowing what's going on.
Sure.
And I think now, and even our governor last year was much more, he did a lot of things much more moderate than I would have expected, and I think a lot of Texans expected. And then this year it's been like this like conservative agenda blitz in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
Which is like Texas has just like lurched to the right in a very strong way in the last 3 months, and legislation and everything. And I have this feeling now that if a governor tried to do anything that even they did last year, there would just be like revolt by the people. I think the people are just like done here in Texas. It's like, we did it once, we hated it, and we don't see what the point of it was. And so now if you try to do it again, we're going to get you. That's what it feels like here in Texas. I don't know what Washington feels like, but
it's a little different because you've got Jay Inslee, who obviously we have 10 people out on the side of the road with cardboard signs saying recall Jay Inslee, and I'm like it's not going to happen, So when people are like,
because in California, Newsom, got way more votes.
Well, they got but here's the thing. So they got that. We got to understand the bigger picture in these kind of things, because there are a lot of things that are done politically that really are just to score points.
That's true. Oh, for sure.
It's just. It's to make noise. I mean, we kind of did that in Washington State here with the marriage ban. We were trying to ban gay marriage and stuff like that. Yeah. And I mean, the church raised $2 million here, and I'm like, you literally are doing something in the wrong. First of all, what a terrible message for that to be like, hey, the church is raising $2 million to be against something. I'm like, such a good message. But all that's a completely different branch. That's where I'm just like, my lover of people kicks in and goes, God, church is being stupid today. But anyway. But listen, Newsom is not going to get recalled. It's not going to happen.
They got enough have you been in California before? Because I lived there, and I was there when Gray Davis got recalled.
Their number one front runner is Caitlyn Jenner.
I know. Wouldn't that be crazy? Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
Crazy.
Okay.
But that's what people said about Arnold.
But that was actually in a gubernatorial, right? Okay. Gavin Newsom has
that was in a recall election. Gray Davis got recalled.
Oh no, that's right. You're right. You're right.
But that was in 2003.
But that was like it was. You're right. But different. It's just a different time. Gavin Newsom. I just don't think
he's
personally,
much more entrenched.
He's more entrenched.
I do agree with that.
I don't think
he's
Caitlyn
Pelosi's
Jenner,
boy. He's Pelosi's. Is he son-in-law or something?
Yeah, he's something like he's
related
something.
to Pelosi somehow. Yeah,
he's got the hair that's just gonna stay there. But what I'm saying is Caitlyn Jenner's fame comes from being trans, not
for winning
from
gold medals as a man.
Well, yeah, but he's not. But she's not politically savvy.
Yeah, I agree.
She's not politically savvy.
Totally not. Yeah.
Her, so it's kind of it's a little bit of a game. And so the same thing here when you look at the recall efforts for Jay Inslee. I mean, there's 10 people with cardboard signs out on a street corner. That's it. It's like, hey, here's some photos from the thing. So it's not going to happen. So I always get a little bit cautious, and some people might disagree with me, Sean. If you don't do this, Well, I'm just saying, if you want to give your money to that, that's great. But if you really want to give it to something that's going to be put to good use, let me give you my PayPal. Because
I think in California, though, the thinking is
hopeexplosion@msn.com. That's my PayPal. Send it there.
Yeah, send it there.
I'll do something great with it.
I think in California, the thinking is it's happened before. So there's actually like a precedent that people will follow and get hopeful about. Now, I agree with you. I think that actually pulling it off is going to be way more difficult than anything in the past. I think there's more entrenchment. I think there's more corruption, frankly speaking, all that. What I did think that what they did was very smart. They had to get 2 million. They got like 2.6 or something so that they would have to refute over 600,000 of the petition signed.
Right.
And then California has this weird thing where it doesn't even with all those turned in and everything, it's not like it doesn't go into effect until fall. So we have a few months to see if it'll really happen.
How this all pans out.
I'm going to be fascinated. I think that once they're recalled, they're not in the election anymore either. I think they're fully out, and then it's a new election between new people.
Yes, I believe so. I mean, I think that's the thing is, Caitlyn Jenner is making a lot of noise right now. They are saying, I've talked to a couple of people who live in California. Yeah. I had this conversation with a friend of mine who lives in San Diego a couple of days ago. And when I said I just don't think there's an Ice Cube's chance, they were like, I don't know. So they're like you. They're like, I don't know, it's a chance. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm not trying to poo-poo it. I've just
I think California
I've kind of been around this horse, and
I think California has way more wild card in these things than other states. California has this really weird thing where the people can vote amendments on the California Constitution with like a simple majority.
Sure.
It's a really weird thing where they tried to go like full democratic, I should say. And California is a very weird state with how its politics are run statewide. And there's also, I think it's much closer to, I would say Washington has a higher percentage of leftist leaning people than California does. California has a very strong conservative middle and north.
Yeah.
And I think, and even south of LA. So I think I don't know, man, it'd be interesting to see. And I think Caitlyn Jenner would be hilarious because if she became governor, because she's trans, which is something that like the leftists love and celebrate, but she's also this right-wing Republican.
Well, that's the thing,
the funniest thing
that
ever.
Was the thing I was thinking about is it's like, okay, so, and I think that's a lot of where progressives get conservatives wrong, because progressives will instantly reject Caitlyn Jenner now because Caitlyn Jenner does not buy into does not buy into their narrative. And we get accused of that same thing, but we really inaccurately get accused of that same thing because we're actually not. We're actually I'm great with Caitlyn Jenner. I've always been great with Caitlyn Jenner. I'm like, okay, I'm great with you, but I really don't care, But now they're like, well, now you're supporting Caitlyn. You engage Caitlyn Jenner. Well, it's like, yeah, because she thinks like me.
She thinks like me.
Yeah. So exactly. I'm like, so
other
that's
than the
it.
sex change part.
Yeah. I mean,
I
just saying
care.
the political, her political components, her political beliefs are starting to align with mine. So of course I'm going to support it. So I don't need her to be like me 100% down the line.
Exactly.
We can kind of agree to disagree on some things, but the things where it's important, things where it's going to count, we're going to be able to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
A lot of progressives, to their demise as of current, because there is a lot of shedding going on in this market. Right. I mean, you're even seeing. Time. I watched Kyle. What is his name? The guy who does that little podcast with Crystal and Kyle. What's his last name? Klinkenhammer.
Not Kyle. It's a different. They were. I know who you're talking about.
No, it is.
They were just on Rogan.
Yeah,
right?
He was just on Rogan.
Okay.
But in that spot on Rogan, I'm like, he is hammering the progressive. He's hammering his own team.
Yeah.
Crystal is hammering her own team right now because they did that thing where they stepped away from the Hill. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, you can check out YouTube. There's
it's a great podcast.
Well, they left it, so now they do their own thing called burning. Something burning.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They left
recent.
the hill.
That's very recent.
They left the hill. Like
I haven't watched them in a while, so
they left the hill about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago.
So they're becoming more independent.
Yes, and they're
good
just
for them.
But it was interesting because I'm watching, and then you watch the Weinstein brothers, and the Weinstein brothers are not conservative by any stretch of imagination. Do not want to be conservative by any stretch of imagination, but they are finding themselves a little bit.
Well, they're deep thinkers and they're honest thinkers.
Eric Weinstein today tweeted. I should just read the tweet. I'll get the tweet at some point. He tweeted something to the effect of how unbelievable it is that social media can, at will, just erase the truth.
Yes.
Or ban and block the truth.
Yeah.
And I literally, as I was reading it, I tweeted back to him. I said, note to every conservative, please try not to get your eyes stuck in the back of your head as you roll them reading this tweet. Because I'm sitting here thinking to myself, where have you been?
Yeah, where have you been
for the last 2 years? But it's and that's the thing. And that's actually, I think it's even what Rogan said. Rogan said that you don't really pay attention to these things that maybe conservatives or independents even are griping about, because Dave Rubin gripes about it as well. Independents and conservatives.
Well, Rubin left. He was in that circle of the Weinsteins and everything.
Right.
They were all buddies.
It just kind of disseminated.
It just disseminated. But he left. He left because he became conservative. He found that I want to be. He found that his liberal values of freedom and everything, he actually were like, the conservatives are actually the only ones fighting for that now.
Right.
The liberals
he didn't become. I wouldn't say he became conservative. He would.
Rubin?
Yeah,
he would consider. Well,
he would yell at you for that.
He's a Republican though.
No.
Dave Rubin, 100%.
No, he's still an indie. He's an indie.
No,
he calls himself down the middle.
No, he doesn't.
He did like 2 weeks ago.
Fine. He can say that about himself, but every single thing he says is on the right.
Well, I think he knows who his audience is, but I would say he probably calls himself the same as Rogan. Rogan calls himself he
Rubin's
did today.
Rubin's more right than Rogan.
And Rogan called himself a political progressive and a social conservative and political. Yeah, flip-flop that. But anyway, the whole point was this. It was just that Eric Weinstein, it was interesting that Eric Weinstein was waking up to the fact that this is happening. Mm-hmm. And I think it was Rogan or someone else who actually said it really well. He says, you don't care until it comes for you. And you think somehow you're safe over here on maybe the progressive left, that it's not going to come for you.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, when you need to wade into the waters of intellectual honesty, which is what Weinstein is doing, he's like, well, no, we need to have an honest discussion about this. And YouTube is like, no, you don't. You don't need,
That was crazy too.
I mean, ivermectin needs to be a word. See, we just literally just raised a flag just saying.
Yeah, don't say that word.
Sliberchectin. Sliberchectin. Can't say Rarizona and Sliberchectin today, or rare.
You know what, Rogan? We were so close, but we missed it. I was just looking it up on my phone as you were talking. Rubin and Rogan both consider themselves like more libertarian now. And so what they would say is,
that's what I say, down the middle.
Classical liberal. And see, the modern conservative party
is yesterday's classical liberal.
Yes. It's free markets, low taxes, socially liberal for the most part. I mean, there's still like the church aspect of it, which is there's still a morality part to it, especially the pro-life side, not so much on the there's not so much of the conservative fight anymore on the homosexual stuff. I mean, it's there, but it's not like a fight anymore. As long as there's like allowances for religious exemptions, such like that, then they're cool. But I think the abortion thing is the only thing that's still like a hardcore element on the social side of the conservatives. Everything else seems pretty open now.
So here's Weinstein's tweet from this morning.
Oh, I was looking for that too. I couldn't find it.
I know nothing of Sliberflectin. I'm just hiding that word. I know nothing of sliverfectin.
I had that one.
I have no position on sliverflectin. Supporting the ability for physicians and biologists to discuss something is not promoting it. I cannot believe the internet's love of interference and rumor that requires us all to waste our time on such silliness. I'm like,
yeah, wake up. We've been doing this all along.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So insightful. I'm like, what in the world? Oh, I couldn't. To be fair, my reply.
To be fair to Eric, I do think even like the first Twitter purge in January when they blocked Trump and all these other conservatives and stuff, I do think he was saying this is concerning. I think Weinstein's always been on that side. And I think
Brett's channel is on strike 2.
Oh, I bet.
He has one strike left. He literally has one strike left. And I think he was saying something last night like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Literally, I think last night he basically, when he got to strike 2, he just teed it up and said, I'm going to blow it up, in the name of trying to get truth out there.
I always get them confused. Which one of them got famous because he was canceled at school?
Well,
Eric,
Brett,
right?
Yeah, no, Brett, Eric is the mathematician.
So he's the one who worked with
and then Brett's the one that worked at Evergreen State College and
that's it,
got
Brett. Okay, so it was
and
Brett,
yeah, that was up here in the Northwest, just showing how great. Yeah. Oh, it was a huge story because there was nothing like a bunch of granola eating raving hippies that to be like because all the people here in the woods were like, so you're telling me that little community college up there is being held hostage by a bunch of granola folk? We could end this in like 10 minutes. You know that, don't you? And they're like, no, we're gonna talk, and it was like talk, that didn't last very long, and he ended up losing his job, but
so, I mean, he's probably better off. I imagine they're making much more money now. They're mini celebrities, and especially in the political world.
Yeah.
I enjoy listening to both of them. I think they're brilliant, and even though I disagree with them on many things, I disagree with them, and I can listen to a lot of people I disagree with and be like, I disagree with you, and you don't know what you're talking about. I listen to the Weinsteins, and I'm like, I disagree with you, but man, I like listening to your side. I like hearing your reasons because they've thought it out. They're brilliant men. They really
are an intellectual version of NPR.
They really and an interesting version of NPR.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the fact that, and you're just like, what?
I think the Weinsteins are much more easy to listen to.
No, they are. No. NPR is what I give my daughter to go to bed. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
let her
they do that. Both of them do the one thing though that it's just hilarious to me. It's like I don't think they could lower their what would I say? It's like
their meter of talking.
Their meter
their
of level talking. Like they speak the way I would write a biology paper.
Yes. Well, no, and when Eric does the Dark Horse with he does the podcast with the lady, I forget. I don't know if it's his wife. She does sound. She's like, well, what I was thinking about today as I was having my coffee is that we were talking about injection sites all over the United States.
It's like never get excited about anything.
Please just say something. Oh yeah, no. So I and that's why I've not made it through an entire. I can't
listen to that show.
I've listened to the highlights, but I can't make it through the whole thing.
I like listening to him when he's on Rogan because Rogan brings down the talking levels and you hear the Weinsteins, they'll rumble off and Rogan will be like, wait, what are you talking about?
Let me grab my thesaurus here a little quick. Did you just say metaphoric aliases?
Yeah.
No, I am. Okay, well, so let me jump to something a little bit more today.
In. Let's get it going.
So, are you? I think there is an absolute space and necessity, especially for us as believers, to pray.
Okay.
To honor those in authority. Although I have. Can I just segue for a second before I say what I'm going to talk about?
You set yourself up. Do it.
I was sitting in a church service and somebody was saying that God placed Joe Biden in power, and and so that we need to pray for those who are in power. And I was like, I had this moment of clarity where I looked at my wife and I said, well, this is why we do this, right? We do this we do this not because God placed Joe Biden in power. It is because God has chosen to honor mankind's continual need for a king.
Yeah.
God has continued to honor mankind's continual need to keep sending Moses up the mountain, right?
Okay.
To hear,
Sure.
So we have this hierarchical mindset in mind,
Sure.
where the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit are the perichoresis. It is hierarchical and yet intertwined at all at the same time. It's intimacy, it's connection. So I disagreed with his statement that it was like, well, God placed Joe Biden. It's like, no, we did.
Yeah.
As a country, we did. As a country, and that doesn't necessarily mean or make it God's will, but now here we are. This is where it's at right now. Yeah. And so we do that, and I'm keeping myself to do that. But I've got concerns right now, and I'm not. I've got he is reading this presidency off a cue card.
Literally. And taking that cue card with him in interviews with foreign heads of state with Putin.
Yes.
He was reading off a cue card. Yeah. Oh,
His
I'm very
name
concerned.
is Vladimir. Yeah. No.
I would say this.
So that is concerning, right? No. Well, I was just saying. I mean, that's
very concerning.
I want to stay honoring, right? I'm not. This isn't our Joe Biden trash 5 minutes, but I'm like,
Donald
Trump so much as hand jiggles, and CNN and MSNBC are like, he's got a problem. Like he needs medical attention right now. And I'm like, we are showing a president who is in possible cognitive decline.
Mm-hmm.
And
I personally thought all along that the plan was of the DNC or whatever you want to say, whoever is, making this all work behind the scenes. I've always had a suspicion that the thought was all along that Biden initially would go in. Because you can't not see it. They have to know, and I'm sure they see it way worse than we do.
Sure.
I think the plan all along was to set up Kamala Harris to become president. I really do. I mean, I don't know why else would you have a running mate with you who got like less than 1% of the primary vote?
Sure.
Like, she's not popular,
right?
So there's something that the heads of who make the decisions in their party. There's something about Kamala they want in there. I can't.
Yeah.
I have to believe that, and I think they knew this is going to happen all along. I mean, remember what Trump said when he was leaving office? He said that like, I don't worry about the 25th Amendment, but Biden, you should.
You should.
I think he knew something. I think. I don't know, and I'm not going to go into conspiracy theory here. I just legitimately think I'm looking at this, and I'm like, there's no way this is a serious presidency right now. It's just not. I think anybody with two eyes who is not just like only listens to MSNBC can see it. So
as believers, what do you think? I mean, obviously
that's a
we
loaded
pray,
question.
we honor, but
I honor
at
him
the
as
same
a
time,
man.
it's like,
I pray for his health. I pray for his salvation. I pray for whether or not he's saved or not. What I mean by that is I pray that becomes a God-fearing man if he's not already.
Right.
I pray that happens. I honor him as a man. I honor the law of the land as so long as it doesn't come between me and God. Which is interesting. A lot of the laws of the land now, my own state, are being like, you can't pass that law, so Texas won't follow it.
Right.
Like, we're building the wall now. We've declared that any gun rights stuff they pass, we won't listen to. All kinds of stuff.
Didn't you pass just a law just recently that was something to the effect of that any federal law that violated the
10th Amendment?
Was it? That Texas is becoming? Is it
Texas?
Resolution. It's becoming a constitutional state.
Yep. We won't, any law that we decide infringes upon the 10th Amendment, which has something to do with federalism and the states' rights, we won't even honor or look at. Like, we've basically just put a big middle finger up to the federal government.
Wow.
We're like, you guys don't control us.
That is crazy.
It's pretty awesome, honestly. It feels good.
Well, the housing prices are going to go up in Texas continually.
Oh, that's already. But what I would say is that, so I've actually thought about this question a lot before you even brought it up, because there is very clear stuff in Scripture that talks about, in Peter he says honor the king, In Romans, it very clearly states to honor the authorities above you. So I've always been like, okay, I totally get that. That's very clear in the Bible. What about when Hitler is running your country? Like I go to the extreme to find an answer.
Sure.
And I'm not equating Biden to Hitler by any means. That's the left's job to do with my president.
Right.
whoever I vote for, whether it's Trump or Bush or whatever.
Or you yourself. You're Hitler.
Or me. Yeah.
You're a Nazi.
I don't do that. But my point is a lot of the church took that approach during the Nazi takeover of Germany and was like, well, we just honor our authority, and they didn't do anything about it. And then there's Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the famous martyr. He was very outspoken. He was on radio and everything, calling out the church, like, we have to speak out against the atrocities in our land. And looking back on history, I think history proved Bonhoeffer right.
100%.
So I would say that I think honoring the authority means you respect them as a man or woman. You pray for them. You don't rise up in violence, anything like that. You abide the laws of the land so long as it doesn't force you to. And I think the early Christians were a perfect example of this. They would abide by all the laws of the land except for when they were told you're not allowed to pray to God or whatever. Right. And then they would just keep on doing it, and they die for their beliefs. And eventually Rome changed, So I think we're kind of at that same point. I think we can be like, we see a problem, we disagree with what's going on, we don't like what we're seeing in the present. He clearly has mental issues. I think some shady stuff is going on. I think we can say all of that and still be like, I still see that he's God's son, a child of God, and 100%. And still want to pray for his health. Honestly, I think of it this way. Years ago when Obama became president, Rush Limbaugh said this famous thing where he was like, I'm praying for him to fail, something like that. Got all this huge stuff. And I was like, I'll take the opposite. The God view, I think, is pray for him to succeed. And if I believe, succeed. But see, for my idea of success, I'm not saying he succeeds in what he wants to do. That might not be God-fearing or good.
Sure. Right.
But that the success is that he becomes a God-fearing, good leader.
Right.
And that is the success. And I think we should always be praying for everybody's success. So that's,
you don't want the pilot in the cockpit to pass out.
No. Or to put in coordinates for Nashville when you're going to Minnesota.
How did we end up in Miami? Hey, no, I mean, that's the thing is, because we ran into you. That's a really good point you brought up. And we really did run into that, and still in some degrees it still kind of exists. Even now, as things are starting to open up, there are pastor friends that I know that are still have not opened their churches up yet.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Yeah.
And but if you rewind 6-7 months when the height of because like I said, I know some churches that never closed.
Yeah.
Like never closed.
Yeah.
Like I think they got that week off or 2 weeks where we were like, what in the world is going on here? Yeah. It was like, okay, what is this? The whole world's on fire.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of like, and they just went back. They said, we're not going to be afraid, because I think the government was in their mind demonstrating some pretty significant and firm overreach.
Sure.
And they kind of just concluded, this is not where we're going to give an inch. So we're not going to give an inch here, because who knows what a month now or 2 months or 3 months looks like down the road. So they just never did. And then, as things started to open up, that dilemma was still there. Well, we have capacities and stuff like that. And there were some churches that opened back up and just said, forget, we're going to open. We're not going to try and figure out, okay, 51%, you've got to go back to the car and listen to it on the radio. They just, and so it was really interesting, because you would hear Romans 13 come up over and over again.
Sure.
And it was so interesting to see how the interpretation of Romans 13 played out based on your political bent. So if you were a little bit more of a left-leaning pastor or minister, which I know several, Romans 13 was, this is what Jay Inslee is saying, this is what the lockdowns in Washington, this is what it is. We need to adhere to this. And then you had the right that was just like,
sure,
are you nuts?
Yeah.
Because if you and to say it can't happen is absurd, because all we have to do, especially here in the Northwest, is look at Canada.
Yeah.
And be like,
Canada's insane right now.
Still
full lockdown.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? And even as they're starting to open up a little bit, again, on ambiguous data, as they're starting to open up, they still had a pastor get arrested for holding a church service.
That's insane.
Just recently. They already had the
Canada.
one guy.
That's like a nice country. That's supposed to be like a
nice Canadians are struggling right now.
The nice socialist government that we all like aspire to. Be at least the leftists in this country. But
did you see at the G7 the photo?
Which one?
Well, they took it, because they also.
I probably did.
Somebody with their gray. Somebody took a picture where they're all standing on that white platform or whatever, and somebody tagged it. They said, "World's best fly trap." Anyway. But they all did the elbow thing. For
that's
the cameras.
hilarious. And then they'd sit down, and take their masks off,
and they were all like handshaking and glad handing,
and hugging,
and I was
the
like,
cameras were off. Yeah.
But you know what? I think there is a what is the word for that? When there are those in our society that literally just completely dismiss it. Yeah, they're just like, you know what? That's okay.
Yeah.
And I, it's weird. I don't know what.
What do you do with that? How do you think that?
What is
you know what's funny though?
Like, what do they call that? Is that complete
honor? In most cases, in my experience, their honor that they're so honorable right now, it doesn't exist when the person they disagree is with up there. I mean,
right? Because if that was Trump, it would literally be like, "Are you kidding?"
So they don't really believe that. And I was just going to say, like, left-leaning pastors, one of the reasons I'm center right is because I think there's a lot of extremes taken on among Christians like myself who believe left-leaning stuff. But in my experience, I feel like there's a lot of distortions of scripture on that side.
Sure.
In fact, pretty much across the board, I don't think I've ever met a left-minded Christian who's a pastor or theologian who hasn't taken liberties. And so it's very funny to me that they would not take a liberty on this issue.
Yeah, no kidding. That's a really good point.
So I see that a lot. One thing I've heard that I think makes some sense, and I can kind of write with this. Like I said, when you first asked me, I don't have it all figured out. I have some thoughts. Another way I've heard it described, and I kind of can see this and agree with it, it's not so much that you honor, like in Romans 13, it's not so much talking about honoring the person in there, because we just have to do that standard anyways, always honor a person. Right. But in governmental setting, it's more of honoring the position. And so you honor who fills it unless it's corrupted. That's what I'd say. And so in that thinking, there's an excuse to kind of not honor that position if it's been manipulated or crazy dictators in there, something like that. And to me, that makes sense looking throughout history, because if you didn't have that thought process of that, we wouldn't be America. I mean, we wouldn't. We would have never had a revolution. I personally think God blessed the inception of this country. Obviously that I'm not the kind of person who believes God was in every part of it. I'm not one of those crazy people who thinks it was okay to kill Indians because God wanted us to move west. Right. I'm not there, but I do believe that, I believe man's desire for freedom is intrinsically comes from God. And so when a country comes that is based upon delivering freedom to people, I believe that's a God thing. And I see even today how even today, 200 some odd years later, our Constitution seems to constantly protect us from crazy things that happen on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
On both sides.
Yeah.
Encroachments from the government, and when they're processed through courts and fought back by the people, the Constitution has constantly protected us. And I don't think they could have written something like that unless God was in it somehow. And so that's my personal belief. So when it comes to governments, I think like the Hitler example was one, Stalin. I mean, you could go through history and name all these crazy dictators and stuff. I don't think it'd be wrong for the people to rise up against that authority. So that's kind of how I
He's not endorsing that right now. Just
no, I'm not.
No. Isn't it funny how you have to? I feel like we have to cover our behinds just because we're young on Spotify
the point
right
is
now. So we want to make
I go to the extremes though to make
follow
points.
your heart. No, it is. It's just it's difficult to, like when you said corrupt. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, politics is corrupt.
Yes,
our systems are corrupt.
Yeah, because men run it.
Right.
I mean, and power is always going to tempt you to be corrupted.
And so we've created a way, through an electoral process to better things.
Yeah.
The challenge now that we're facing is now the electoral process is under scrutiny.
Yeah.
Under scrutiny. I'm not saying anything changed. Every vote had counted. This is the most perfect election that ever happened. But if, let's just say, maybe, and it's just kind of, it was funny you said something, just kind of going back to the narrative really quick, and then maybe we can run down this road a little bit. But, the Fauci emails came out.
Oh, yeah.
We missed that too. I mean, we're just hitting it off. This is like our update. This is like literally, we're just going to hammer it all in tonight so that next week we can just talk about we're going to talk about the ingredients of cupcakes. But it was really interesting because do you remember when Bob Woodward did the interview of Trump? And Trump was kind of being very forthright and being very Trump and not really hiding anything. And he's just like, well, I was just trying to make sure, I think it was more Ronald Reagan what I went with there. But anyway.
Yeah, that was wrong.
Huge. I don't really have a good Trump. But anyway, I was trying to, say, that was more of a cabbie. I'm going to just move on. The fact that he was basically saying, listen, I'm not saying everything because I don't want to strike fear in the hearts of people. And literally, like, that was the most irresponsible thing. I can't believe that you're not being forthright with the people. You're not, and Bob Word said it. And again, and I get it. We know, right? I'm not saying anything we don't know. But for some reason, I just feel like it's important to highlight just the obvious hypocrisies when all of a sudden the Fauci emails come out. And those very same things happened. And admit it. Listen, his whole position on masks and his reason for doing it was to, not have a run on masks. So I did not inform the people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nothing.
Oh.
Crickets. Yeah. You didn't hear a thing about it. And I just thought, so probably a lot of people, unless it works in your benefit, are convinced that the system is rigged, not in our favor. Now, to that point, we have the light of Christ in us, and I'm not submitted to, I'm not a victim to the system. Amen. Right? So I'm not afraid, if if the system starts to get worse and everything starts to get darker, I still have hope. Yeah. Right? And some days I may have to really, speak to my spirit and stir up that hope, more days than others. So I'm not afraid of the rigging, but it is interesting to try and figure out how you navigate these waters in this time, especially when any attempt at shining light on something gets shut down, gets censored, gets closed. I mean, I find it incredibly interesting that 13 representatives from 13 different states kind of descended on Arizona because there's a really good taco place there. And they all are checking out this really good taco place because apparently there's some people that have been discerning
some special sauce in that taco.
They've been discerning the ingredients of how this taco was put together, and there was 2.5 million tacos that are done being made, and now all of a sudden, people are descending on it, going, I think I want a taco like that back at my house. Actually, even one of them was from Washington State, which was shocking to me.
That's shocking. I cannot wait till the results of that come out, and we're going to have a lot to talk about.
That'd be unbelievable.
I think there's going to be a domino effect. It's going to be wild. Having said all that, you said something, I just lost it. It was, so you were talking about how we can't speak about certain things and it gets shut down, whether it's truth or speculation, whatever it is, though, there's certain topics we're not allowed to talk about. And I think it's very interesting. You said it gets shut down, but here's the thing. It doesn't fully get shut down. Now, thanks to the internet, I have been amazed at how much information has continued to travel and spread despite not just being shut down, but also the counter narrative that seems to be everywhere. But honestly, it's becoming, I think more and more people, I mean, CNN's down like 70% ratings. I think more and more people are turning off the loudspeakers and looking on their own.
It is, No, independent media is on fire.
Oh, man.
Right
and
now.
We
basically are falling into like, what are we? We're like religious independent media, kind of is what we are right now.
So we have a religious exemption from being banned by YouTube.
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
Probably not.
Not sure how that works. But so
have you ever seen Professor Toto? Oh, don't look him up. That guy, he was begging for YouTube to ban him. But anyway, okay.
Well, I was just gonna make one. I was gonna ask you, did you see Jon Stewart on Colbert?
Are you kidding me?
I could not believe it.
Couldn't believe it. Did you see Colbert just peeing his pants?
Yeah.
I mean, when all of a sudden, when he ends with that one-liner.
Oh yeah.
So how long have you been working? Who was it that he said? I forget what he's. How long have you been working for one of the senators?
Man, I couldn't believe it, and he did everything short of saying, and I think he didn't say it because heads would have exploded. But if he had said these 3 words, Trump was right, Colbert probably would have just died on set.
Yeah, no,
but he said everything else.
He would have stood off the end of his desk and jumped. Yeah. No, it was literally watching him.
Oh yeah,
just watching, and you're watching. That's what happens when it's so blinking obvious, like the lights are just shining that there's just nothing you can do anymore.
Yes.
And it's funny because that's where we need to stay hopeful, right?
Yes.
Because we could just get frustrated and just be like, this is what we've been trying to tell you the whole time.
Yes.
Like all of a sudden you're like, this is new to you. Like fly cloxy quark quap. That stuff. Like all of a sudden, that's like a thing again. And then,
crazy.
And literally I was sitting with a friend and he's like, well, you know why that got a bad rap is because, those 2 people in the very beginning, they took too much. And I'm like, they didn't take too much. They drank fish cleaner.
They drank fish cleaner. Yeah, they didn't take the...
And the investigation said the lady was probably trying to kill her husband. I mean, let's just be honest. And
but that's the news that spread.
Right, that's the news that spread. So, but amongst that community, that's well, if that hadn't happened, that's probably would have gone a whole lot better.
So
I'm like,
crazy.
no, if it wouldn't have come out of Trump's mouth.
Exactly.
I told somebody, I said, I know exactly how we could have solved the whole mask scenario if Trump would have come out and said, all right, everybody, put your mask on.
Now you're JFK.
Put huge masks on. And then and then Anthony Fauci.
John F. Trump.
Right. And then Anthony Fauci come out the next day. Well, this is what it is, I don't think they're necessary,
That's pretty good.
That's Woody Allen, actually. It's probably what that is. But anyway,
they're not far apart.
What you got to do is leave me alone. Just take the mask. You don't have to wear the mask, because President Trump, he's not thinking about your best. He doesn't know the science. All it would have had to have been is Donald Trump come out first.
Oh yeah,
and say. Masks, masks are the greatest thing ever.
Yeah,
that's true. John F. Kennedy, you're right.
Yeah, you're going the JFK route.
I got to work on my Trump. So, but he's going to the border.
Before Kamala, who's been put
he's going
in
to the
charge
border. Donald Trump is going to the border before Kamala Harris,
who is technically in charge of the border.
Just think about, isn't it interesting?
Crazy.
And both of them have gotten a little bit hot lately. Kamala's gotten a little bit hot.
Did you see when she went to Guatemala?
Yeah.
They were like challenging her. She showed up, and in like at the airport where she showed up, there were people with Trump won banners.
Yes. Yes. No, it's really ridiculous. And
crazy.
And it had Trump gotten as salty with a female press.
Oh, wow.
As he did yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yesterday or it was yesterday.
As you mean Kamala or
no, Biden. Somebody asked
yeah.
What makes you think that Putin's going to change? And he's like, I didn't say he was going to change. I didn't say I was confident.
Yeah.
I'm not confident.
Well,
I'm not
Kamala
confident
snapped
in anything.
at that Hispanic
What's your
reporter.
name? You know, no, it was really. Yeah, no, Kamala snapped at the
she
reporter
snapped too. South America, yeah.
But I mean, if Trump had done that to a woman,
forget it.
And it was really interesting because the person who was standing right next, I think it was the CNN guy who was standing next to the female reporter. I think he wanted to get a question in too, and then you kind of just saw him back away, like, oh, he's in a mood, and he was probably having a little TDS and didn't want to. But I just
right before he said, I can't say anymore. I got to go. Like,
yeah, no, but it was really interesting because he was had that been Trump, it would have been sexism. Oh, how dare you?
Yeah,
all this.
Crazy. Yeah.
So it's so weird to navigate, especially as this is. I did a Facebook post, which I rarely do that actually stay. In most political Facebook
I know.
posts
I went
to
I put them on yours the other day, and it was gone.
I deleted it. I do. Most political Facebook posts I just get rid of. I'm just like, give the people what they want. They just want to see me, my wife, and my kid, and ice cream. That's all they want. They don't want that, or a nice Bible quote. But they don't want the. What did I do today? The one I deleted today. Oh, right. I did. I just Googled it just for fun. How much money did Bloomberg spend on his presidential election? He spent
so much.
By June, he had spent $320 million, and by July, August, September, he had spent in the primaries. He had spent over $500 million.
Yeah, it was over $500 million. Yeah,
$500 million. And
bottom 3%.
And there are 385 million people in the United States. And so I posted on there, I have an idea.
It's crazy.
I would have just promised everyone $1 million. You would have won it right there.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, you literally, do you realize he could have given everyone in the United States $1 million?
No, $1.
Right? Or $1. No. Maybe that's why I deleted it. My math was wrong. He spent $500 million.
There was a reporter who did the exact same thing you just did during the primaries last year.
Maybe that's where I got it. And he could have given everyone $1. We're not going to edit that out. You're going to see. I'm a little tired.
Yeah, because if you do 300 million people by a million each, that's a lot more than a...
Right, 500 million.
It's okay. Bring it back.
Could have given everyone $1.
Everybody in Tewanepoque, Washington at the border, all 300 of them could have gotten $1 million.
That's right. He could have just could have done it to one city. But no, but at least, that's a winning strategy. At least you'd walk away going, hey, Bloomberg gave me $1.
He probably would have gotten more votes by doing that publicity stunt. Or even by just giving one town $1 million and lifting that whole town up. That one publicity stunt would have been worth more than all the money he spent.
500 towns. That's what he could have done. 500 towns. 500 towns.
Yep.
See,
that alone would have bought him.
That probably saved some of our listeners that were literally turning us off right now going, Sean. But it's late. I've been busy.
That was great.
That's why I deleted it, because the math in my head. That's what I do. That's the thing, is you get salty, and that's part of it too.
You just don't think straight when you're salty.
When you're salty, you don't think straight.
Man.
I don't want to be. I don't want to be salty. I want to. And I do. I mean, I love people. I want to encourage people. But there is this. And actually, one of the things I'm saying is that I believe as things start to come to light, and they are coming rapidly.
It is crazy. I feel like since you and I last talked, it was like
100%.
There's been so much. I mean, Fauci emails, the tacos in Arizona.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been one thing after another, just nonstop for a month. It's been crazy.
As this happens,
I think. Yeah, there was a whole nother level to the Bill Gates stuff that came out since we last talked.
Yeah, we're not going there.
No, I'm not going to. I just, you guys can go watch that. Go research. Do your own research.
Yes. Welcome to Fantasy Island. Anyway, no, but the thing is our posture has to be, we cannot, as much as we want to, scream, "I told you so."
No.
We can't do it.
We
literally can't do it because there's nothing engaging about that.
Yeah, that won't hurt at all.
It's like, you're stupid and I'm going to burn a bridge. No, we can't do that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we're coming, there's already been a lot of I told you so's that we could have done. And I think we've been good about not doing that on a personal level. I'm not with you day to day, but I think we both know that. There's an interesting way to navigate kind of, we want to embrace people with open arms when they wake up. That's kind of what it is. When you start seeing stuff, be like, awesome, you finally, you saw it, and if they're really close to you, maybe you can rib them a little bit. Like, hey, remember when I said that last, like if you're really close to them, if you trust your relationship. Yeah. But most people, we just need to let right in.
The FBI, they're not just for investigations anymore.
That's fun. Yeah, we'll go there later. That's too. Next Tucker, week. Tucker just did more on that tonight.
Did he really? I didn't see it, so I will watch it. No, so we just need to let that one. That one just needs to simmer for a couple of weeks because I kind of feel like that one. I
have a feeling that a fuse just got lit that's going to explode in about a month.
Maybe. I think that one is so volatile.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, let's just say...
Just watch Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, watch Tucker Carlson. Today is the 20... What is it?
19th? Watch the 16th for sure. Today's the 17th. Yeah, watch the 16th.
Let's just say not all barricades are equal. And so, but that's what I'm saying. I think there's going to be some things out there that are going to simmer. You know what? And actually, the truth is the truth. The fact is, the narrative that they're espousing to... December 6th or January 6th is not clearly accurate. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you have the our attorney general, was it no who was it actually that did it, our AG, he basically said right now the number one threat is white supremacist terrorist groups. And I was like, I'm like, okay, let's do that. Can you? How many white supremacist groups have you seen that have burned cities to the ground? Have taken over police stations? Done the old Summer of Love here in Chaz. You're that's kind of where you're just.
It's crazy.
That's willful ignorance if you buy into that one.
Our president,
and I mean that in a nice way. I mean ignorant in the medical sense.
Did you see when the president came out a couple weeks ago and said the Joint Chiefs of Staff had just informed him that climate change was the greatest threat to our democracy?
Right, but remember we knew that already 3 months ago when the CNN Project Veritas thing came out.
We knew it was coming. Yeah.
When we already knew that one. It was like, hey, we already got that from CNN.
We got the memo.
Like from the Project Veritas leak. So, that wasn't news at all.
Did you see that reporter the other day?
Oh, geez, who quit on air. Oh, she didn't quit on air.
She didn't quit.
She just announced that she was going to to something really crazy on air.
It was so amazing how casual she did it too.
And without a beat, she went right to the guy. And now to the sweltering heat. This guy right over here is fixing the air conditioning. I'm like,
this is what I'm talking about though. Think of all the things we've just hit on and we have no time to go into it all. We've just thrown it out there. And so there's a lot of catching up to do. And there's no way we can ever do it. I mean, I think we're going to be able to get much more consistent. I know my schedule's cleared up, so I hope to be here weekly, bi-weekly.
We are here. For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, we will leave links in the description or something. There's just a lot going on.
So much going on.
Check out that Tucker on the 16th.
It's so good.
It's on YouTube. Shockingly, it's
even
still
if you
on
don't
YouTube.
like Tucker, you should watch it just to be exposed to something that's a possibility. So you don't get blindsided later if it really does turn out to be something.
It's madness.
But what I would say, as we're finishing up here, because we're over an hour now, and, which is great, man. I've really enjoyed this. I missed you. That's what it is.
Woo!
I missed you.
That was a lot.
Well, that's because there's so much to talk about.
We stayed relatively positive.
Oh, I think we're having fun. And this is what I want to say. I think
salt in my steak.
Even though you've been salty and
little,
there's still stuff to be salty about. I want to say that I'm in a much better mood than I've been even in the past few, because so much is happening that is for me and for how my journey has been on the last 18 months is affirmational. Sure. And I feel like a lot of good things are starting to happen, but they're going to be hard things, especially for certain people. But I think overall it's good things for our country. And one thing that keeps happening and more, and I've talked about it a few times now, but just to reiterate, I'm seeing it keep happening. It's the states taking back their natural ability to govern themselves that was given to them in our Constitution. The people realizing they have more say in their local school boards and townships.
Yeah.
I'm seeing more activity in that place, and I think it's good for both sides. I think that especially real believers, not people who are just power players.
Sure.
I don't mind if there's a super liberal state and a super conservative state. I think that's what we're meant to be, is you get to pick where you go.
Right.
And we don't have to be all the exact same under the umbrella of our federal government. We're finally getting back to that. I think federalism, which is, for those who aren't civics people, it means that each state basically governs itself, and then we all come together under unity under a federal government, but states can look very different because of that. That went away for about 50 years. The trend was very much the opposite, and I think we're going back to that, and I think that's a very good thing.
It is. I agree.
The federal
100%.
government is clearly weakening, and I think that's a very good thing. I think ultimately it will make us a stronger, better country. And honestly, I feel like it's going to be a messy few months, maybe even a couple years.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to come out of this in an America we're all much happier in.
My hope is that we return to the ability to agree to disagree, and
Yes.
we return to the ability to say, I don't agree with you, but I will defend your right to say it, or to think it, or to believe it, or even act on it. If you want to, if you want to go and protest, I'm going to defend your right to protest.
Yeah.
But we all do this, I think we have just gotten too loose with civil disobedience. I think we have gotten too loose with, we're not, it's not conscientious objector that has some kind of core that's like, no, this is for something. No, this is, I have been told my life sucks, and so I need to make your life suck.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to, storm into your traffic. I'm going to, it's just,
I'm bored and don't feel like I have anything to do with my life. So I'm going to take up a cause.
Or the government is paying me way more to stay home than, we didn't even get into that. Or BlackRock, which is buying up 25% of the homes, trying to create a rental state.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
That's something maybe we can touch on next time. But that it is. There's a lot. Yeah, I will say on that, that what's really, really interesting is now all of a sudden that is getting a lot of heat. And so it'll be really interesting to see how that plays out over the next couple of weeks too. So there's definitely a lot to watch for over the next week. So thank you for checking in with us at Way Overthinking It. Again, I am Sean.
I'm Paul.
We are Way Overthinking It, and we will see you next week.
We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend, guys, and keep overthinking it.